Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nip nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I have no more of. It's by Pelikan, it's one of their Edelstein series. It's their green ink, Aventurine. Now, I got it in cartridge form. Now, this is garnet, and when you get them in cartridge form, you get 6 long cartridges, and, you know, obviously this would be green, and it would say Aventurine instead of garnet. And I used my last one to do these tests. I actually quite enjoyed this ink, and I may be getting some more, but yeah, so that's what it looks like when you get it in cartridges. When you get it in a bottle, it looks more like this. If I can ever open a box, because reasons. Wow, I didn't know it was this complicated. Yes, you know, it's got the fancy glass bottle. Can you tell I like garnet? I like garnet. I'm going to speed forward through this in editing. Yep. Anyways, all the tests were done in this AG Spalding Bros pen. I believe it's their maple one. Now, as you might be able to see on the nib, it says medium, but these nibs are actually manufactured in Japan. So I'd say it writes more like a Western fine. But yeah, let's check out the chromatography. It's an interesting chromatography. Now this is almost like a lime, but like a young lime, where it almost looks more like a lemon. It's very yellow. Then you get sort of a little bit of a hazy green, and then a very distinct separation into blue. And letting it dry, not much difference, except there's a little bit more green to this. But yeah, so. Alright. Top down in density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Yep. Had to use a different kind of Clairefontaine for this, but yeah. It's a lovely, I don't know how to describe it. It's bright and yet deep and rich. It most certainly shades. It's very vibrant. 5.5 seconds to dry, which really isn't bad considering how dense this paper is. It really is a lovely shade of green. It's a tiny bit wet. I'd say it's like a 5.5 or maybe a 6 out of 10. So it is just a little bit wet. But yeah, no bleed, no... Oh, here I say it's a 6.5. So, maybe right at the beginning it was a bit wetter. But yeah. You definitely see that separation like we saw in the chromatography test. Definitely what remains, and there is some that remains, but it's a very bright, vibrant, almost yellow-green. Yeah, water resistance is not its strong suit. But no bleed, no feather, no spread, no sheen. But, okay. I tested it on Rhodia, and the behavior was not great. And I know it shouldn't act like this, so I decided to throw out that test and get a fresher piece of Rhodia. And here it behaved like it should, because it turns out that is one of those pieces of paper from the bottom of a stack that behaves oddly. So yeah, this is from a number 11 pad. It's like 3 inches by 3 inches or something, so it's a miniature size test. Now here it took 6 seconds to dry, which isn't bad because this is still fairly dense paper and it's got a ceramic coating in the pressing process, so. But here you definitely start to see a bit of a halo effect in the shading. And it does have lovely shading, and that green is just fantastic. Yeah. No bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen, but I kind of wish I had more of this so I could put it in a really wet pen and just go to town. But yeah, again, what remains is a very light, sort of a limey green, very yellow. You can actually see where the blue started to wash away. It did dye the page a bit, but yeah, so water resistance, not high up there on its skills. Yeah, so here's Tomoe River Paper, where I feel like, I don't know if the camera's going to capture it, but it actually sort of brought out a little bit more of that yellow on the cream paper. I don't know if that's going to come through, but yeah, it took 8 seconds to dry, which really isn't bad, because Tomoe River loves dry times. But the flow is a little wet, and I'd call it a European fine. So, really not too bad. You definitely see some of that halo here. See how it gets dark right around the edge? and you get some lovely shading. And again, it's a deep green, but it's still vibrant. It's very lovely. Yeah, there's no bleed, no feather, no spread. No sheen, unfortunately. Echo, of course, is always to taste. And since I'd say this is a solid medium dark green, I mean, it's all about how sensitive you are. I mean, I don't generally write on both sides of paper because, I don't know, apparently I hate the environment. I don't know. But, yeah, it wouldn't bother me. But here, this is kind of cool. I like this. This water test. You can actually see the blue and the green and the yellow. It's kind of fascinating. However, it is almost impossible to read. It's just a big mishmash. So, Now, here is where we get to have a little bit of trouble in the next 3 tests. Because even though this is what I would call a European fine, I mean, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's the wet flow or something, but it did not play well with absorbent paper. It lost all traces of shading. Any sense of shading is completely gone. It absorbed essentially instantly into the paper, which might explain this. I mean, it fully broke through in a couple places. So, I don't know, something to be aware of. There is a significant degree of spread. The line width got much broader. It's very woolly. It's very feathery. It did not play well. And yet this water test is kind of fascinating because, again, very distinct separation of blue from green. It's kind of amazing. Next up is Mead Notebook Paper, which is actually thinner than the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. It took 1 second to dry, or at least seep into the paper. You do get some spread. It's not quite to the degree that you see on the 20-pound, but it's definitely there. You lose all shading. You definitely get that woolly effect. You definitely get some feathers, which is not encouraging. And some very near bleed. Very near bleed. And it's not localized, so it's not about how the paper was made. It's just, well, I mean, it is about how the paper's made. But anyways, again, kind of a fun separation. It sort of dyed the whole page, that light baby blue, and then the green is still in the middle. But even what's in the middle kind of feathered and exploded a bit. So next up is Moleskin Notebook Paper, which is a disaster. I mean, I don't even have to bring it that close. You can see the mess. But, yeah, let's bring it close anyway, just for laughs. Wow. I mean, the texture is bizarre. And there's so many feathers. I mean, I wish I had, like, an ultra-high-def camera, but jeez. Oh, and there's really not any shading left. It took 4 seconds to dry, which I cannot explain to you, because it's soaked into this paper so hard. I mean, it actually came through in that spot, like it got onto the page below. It very nearly came through in several spots, and there is extreme show through all throughout. I mean, this is with the light coming in directly at it, so, I mean, it's just a disaster. But again, weirdly, it didn't dye most of the page, just sort of at the bottom, and where it did, it's very blue, but it did feather and explode. That would be the opposite of fun to try and read. So, yep, there you go. There's Pelikan Edelstein Aventurine. I thought I'd give it a try just because I tend to live in Rome quite frequently whenever I'm allowed and have money. And there's a hill there called Aventine, the Aventine Hill. And so, yeah, sort of a personal thing. Like, oh, I want to try that. However, I don't know. It did not play well with absorbent papers, and this is not an extreme nib. The flow is a little bit wet, so if you've got a pen that's a little reticent, needs a little, you know, like a little push, a little something, this would be a good ink for that. And it's a lovely color. I really like the color. So yeah, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Bye.